Are you ready?
Starting now?
Now you just messed it up, you knob. God, you know that the shit that we go through for this, huh?
I know. Fuckers better appreciate it. When we started, we were just like, yeah, we're just going to do this, man. You know, shoot our wad into the wind and see what happens. What's the title of this podcast again?
I don't know. I don't know. Something with a penis, I guess.
Right.
Our fucking faces are everywhere now.
Right.
You know, but
You're welcome, ladies.
Right. Popular with the ladies. Right. Oh, I'm not even going to apologize because hopefully it sounds fucking hilarious.
Yeah, totally. This is fucking explicit now.
The explicit button. Let me use my finger.
La, 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 la.
It is time for another episode of Sober, Not Mature. And that episode starts now. All right, everyone. Welcome back. Oh, wait. We're not at the halfway point yet, are we? Okay, wait. Start over again. We'll get to why I felt like playing that little joke here. Okay, here we go. All right, everyone. Welcome once again to another episode of Sober Not Mature.
Oh, Jesus. Yep. Here we are.
Yeah, we're here.
This is fucking it, man.
Well, it's kind of funny, and we could get into it, but if Mike wants to. But yeah, he had texted me. What time did you text me? It was early, too. It was like, I don't know.
Probably noon.
Yeah, and you're like, hey, looks like I'm going to get off early, but might have fucked myself. And then I don't know what time it was when you texted back, and you're like...
around 4.
Yeah, you're like, yeah.
When there was no way in hell. Yeah, exactly. So for anyone that's keeping score, it's we usually... Our regular time's 8 o'clock Eastern. When it's just us, we try to do it a little earlier to get this shit out of the way. And right now it is 8:53 in the PM in the Eastern time zone.
Yeah, and that's why it's like literally right before Mike got on. I'm like, shit, we'd normally be like it literally at the halfway point. So I figured I'd fuck around a little bit. And plus, whatever, man. It's New Year's Eve weekend, and I've been touting this as the New Year's Eve extravaganza episode. So,
right,
yeah, we're not gonna we're not gonna disappoint, right?
Right. I've got my funny hat and my whistle and confetti.
Right.
Sure.
Right. I have none of that. I've just got me, me and my quick wit and my charm.
I'm lying, and so is he.
Exactly. All right. So, since I've got a ton of shit. I mean, obviously, New Year's Eve stuff we could talk about. New Year's end of the year shit if we want to. I got a bunch of shit. I got a little nitpick on myself, so we'll get to that, and then
pick that nit.
Yeah, my nit is going to be picked publicly.
Nice.
We're going to publicly pick my nit. How's that?
Wow.
So, but. Yeah, the final fucking episode of 2023. We're gonna bring this in with a fucking bang. You know what? I'm gonna write this down. We were number 6 on that feed spot.
Oh yeah,
list.
Right.
Yeah, okay. So just real quickly on that, when I first got approached by them, probably a year ago. It's the top 70 or whatever podcast that you should be following in 2023.
Jesus. Okay.
And they're like, hey,
I got time for that.
Yeah, but it's sober podcast. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. So they're like, hey, sign up for this, do this and that. So I made sure that we were all kind of like quote unquote registered with it. And then, I told them, I'm like, I said, what number are we? I'm like, I went through and I didn't see it. So we were at that point. Number, I don't know, like 22 or 25 or something like that. And I like breezed over it because I don't think that they had our feed wasn't in there correct. So our picture wasn't in there. So I didn't see it right away.
Mm-hmm.
But, we got up to, I think last year we get up to like, I don't know, number 10, number 8, whatever it was. And then I stopped kind of paying attention, but what they had asked us to do, they're like, hey, tag us in your post if you post about it. So I did. And then I just kind of got away from it because we were up in the 30s and the 40s, and I'm like, fuck this, whatever. I'm like, we're not doing anything better, worse, or we're nothing. It's just
never. Right. Yeah.
It's
well,
just
kind of like this podcast.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Our podcast was just indifferent, and we're, in the fucking 40s or something.
Right.
So whatever it was, a couple weeks ago, I looked and we were at number 4.
Wow.
And I'm like, yeah, and now we're at number 6, I think. So, but with quality content like this, we might get back up in the 30s again. So, but I think it's played on. What's weird is it's based on number of plays, which we compared to some of these other podcasts that I know for a fact, are theoretically behind us on that list. Get more plays, have more listeners, followers, all that shit. And then, so it's supposed to be that and like a mix of followers, whatever. So I don't know how the fuck they do it, but I don't care. It's a little bit of I'm like, oh, look at us. We're on a list.
That's right. Top 10, baby, with a bullet.
Yeah, exactly. And again, if we keep up this quality content, maybe we could hit top 5 in 2024.
Sure, why not?
Yep. Hey, new year, new us, man. I fucking hate that so much.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for people with the new year, new me bullshit. Which, again, if it's what you do, fine. I just I don't know. Neither one of us, I don't think we're into this corny shit. So,
nope.
But anyhow, all right. So, yeah. All this bullshit aside, your weird day aside, why don't we roll around some good thoughts in our head with a reading?
All right. Well, I'm being super goddamn lazy, and it's the New Year's Eve spectacular. So I figured, what the hell? The bookmark's already there because it's there for tomorrow, the 30th. So let's just go with the 31st and let's see what the hell it says because I didn't even look. So there you go. It's a quality preparation that keeps people coming back. All right. This is from God Grant Me, as usual. And this is December 31st. Celebrate to observe an occasion with appropriate ceremonies of respect, festivity, and rejoicing. The American Heritage Dictionary. New Year's Eve marks the end of one year and the beginning of another. In the old days of our using, we used this day as an excuse to drink, use drugs, and act wild and crazy. We did not really think about honoring the year that was ending or about welcoming the new year. Some recovery folks spend this evening with their families playing games, watching videos, and sharing plans for the coming year. Other recovering folks invite recovery friends over for supper or go to a special 12-step meeting or a sober dance. Some attend special religious services, perhaps at a church, synagogue, mosque, or sweat lodge. The ending of the year is an important occasion to celebrate. We are alive and we are on the path of recovery. It has been an important year. Prayer for the day. Higher power, thanks for the good things that have happened this year. Help me stay sober so that I can live the coming year in your love and protection. Today's action. Oh, great. More actions. I will use this night to honor the changes in my life. I will list 10 good or important things that have happened this year. I will find time to talk about them with someone tonight as I celebrate. I will remember to have fun, be sober, and to be safe.
Well, look at that. Just by happenstance, you have somebody to talk to tonight. But
all right.
It's funny.
Halfway there.
Right. Well, yeah, that half of the action just kind of fell into your lap because we're here anyhow. So
hey, welcome to my lap.
Hi there. And you know what? We'll talk about it, but we're going to be we'll have plenty of people to talk to on New Year's Eve. So we'll get to that here in a minute too. But it was funny, before you read the action, the last part of that was talking about, remembering and celebrating the good things, this year. And then obviously the action was doing that, because that was going to be actually a question, which we can get to in a second. But, it says, obviously it talked about us being on the path of recovery. I put a big question mark about this one, that people celebrate in a sweat lodge. Okay. I mean, I know they're out there, and hey, if you're going to be in a sweat lodge on New Year's Eve, it's better to be in a all fucking sweaty in the the corner bar or something like that. So
right. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I spent a few New Year's Eve fairly sweaty, but
yeah,
right.
and sometimes it was
Chemically induced.
right, and sometimes it was fun. I mean, we talked about that
Oh
last year.
yeah.
Some of the fun we had on New Year's Eve, but
Sure.
We lost that privilege. So, um,
Mm-hmm.
but then the first thing that I wrote down, and this is the one that so I I don't want to say everyone, but I think everyone, not everyone says it, but I think everyone's heard it, that
Mm-hmm.
New Year's Eve is always called amateur night,
Right.
and it is a time when, even though I think the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, if I'm not mistaken, is actually a
Mm-hmm.
bigger drinking holiday than New Year's Eve. And I think
Right.
it's just because a lot of people come home, college kids are home, all this different stuff. People are
Mm-hmm.
traveling to a place where
Right.
home is, getting together, whatever. But still, there's a lot of people that normally don't go out, certainly don't drink that much,
Mm-hmm.
and go fucking nuts. But
Right.
the thing that I wrote down was that we didn't look at, and I think what led up to it was, rather than looking at, what the year's past was, what we have to celebrate, the coming of a new year, this and that,
Mm-hmm.
it just gave us to, an excuse to,
Right.
I wrote down drink, do drugs, and be wild, but I would add the
Mm-hmm.
word more, drink
Right.
more,
Yeah.
do more drugs, and be more wild.
Right. Exactly.
So with that, a couple of times a year, that, I think New Year's Eve is one of them that, I think that us people, unless we get super fucking off the rails,
Mm-hmm.
I think that we can blend in a little bit more on an amateur night like that than we
Sure.
could during the year, don't you think?
Oh yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, St. Patrick's Day, Cinco de Mayo, Halloween, right? All those party holidays. Oh
Right.
yeah, yeah, exactly. We're not quite as stupid as we usually are, or we don't appear to be anyway, because everybody else is stupid too.
Right. Yeah. It's not as glaring because, I
Right.
mean, it is. It's one of those times when, and once again, unless, and I always drank, certainly more, than I normally
Mm-hmm.
would. But, so that's a thing. And I talked about this before, like, when Dawn and I got together, she and I met at this outing, from people that she worked with, and they were one of my clients of the company I
Mm-hmm.
work for. So that's how I met her. And it's like not every Thursday, but I think once a month, they did, kind of like an outing, have some food, have some drinks, be out, whatever. So
Right.
that's where I met her
Mm-hmm.
at one of those things. And then
Right.
she started showing up at those more often, and we ended up getting together, blah, blah, blah. So she and I went out in those early days quite a bit, went out
Mm-hmm.
with friends and went to clubs and partied and did all those things. But the key thing there, and I think this is the biggest difference between, sometimes people like you and I and these normies, is
Uh-huh.
that she knew when the party was done. I never did.
Right.
It
Right.
didn't matter. So
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, for me, I'm trying to remember, but I mean, yeah, the last probably 4 or 5 or 6 or somewhere in there, New Year's Eves when I was still out there. I mean, I didn't go out. I knew better
right.
at that point. Yeah, it was another fucking night, man. And I just, I may have drank more, but probably not. I probably just drank the way I always drank, and yeah, and I mean, I stayed in. I knew better. There was no point in me going out. I was gonna get fucking blind drunk, anyway.
Right.
So yeah, I might stay up and watch Stroke Doc Dick Clark, but yeah, other than that, it was regular. It was another night, man. It's another night I needed to medicate myself into a stupor.
Yeah. And you know what? I
Yeah.
don't Dawn and I used to go out on New Year's Eve, and I know you and I talked about a couple of those
Right.
last year. And there was times I went out on New Year's Eve, but I mean,
Oh, sure.
when after Kimmy's mom and I split, so after Pam and I split years ago, and then before Dawn and I got together, I used to come down to Indiana, and then I'd hang out with Kathy and Mark. We just
Right.
hang out, play games, and sometimes there'd be a couple of friends of theirs over or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
we'd always stay in. But yeah, we
Mm-hmm.
just hang out and play games and drink. I mean, but it
Right.
was we were at home or at a home rather than,
Sure.
being out someplace. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, going out for New Year's Eve, there was we talked about this before.
Mm-hmm.
We'd be lying if we said we didn't have. There was some New Year's Eves and some regular times and all that stuff that they were a ton of fucking fun, and
Oh,
nobody got in
absolutely.
trouble, and
Yeah.
no fights, no arguments, no
Right.
no DUIs, no jails,
Right. No
institutions, or
jails or
death.
death. Right.
But again, we lost that privilege, which I believe is said exactly like that in the Big Book at some point, right,
Yep.
or at some point
Yeah.
in there. Yeah, we just lost that privilege. So,
Mm-hmm.
but what about that? I mean, like right off the top of your head, I mean, and we don't have to sit here and like make a list of 10 fucking things, but
Mm.
I mean, what do you think? I mean, off the top of your head, any like pinpoint things this year that I
This
know it's kind of
year.
corny, like
Right.
2023, but I don't know that were
Right.
just moments.
Um,
I know.
I mean, right. I mean, it's all pretty fucking good, Yeah, I mean, I'm grateful for tons of stuff, and I do that every damn night. Um, it was a year. It wasn't anything spectacular, but it wasn't anything awful either. I
Right.
like being in the middle. That's kind of the way I live now, and I find comfort in it. Yeah, there's tons of stuff I'm grateful for. People and places and things I've done, and absolutely, yeah, it was a good year. It wasn't spectacular, and it certainly wasn't awful.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's it was kind of funny when you said that. I was thinking the same thing. As you were doing the reading, that there wasn't like huge highs or huge lows this year. I mean, you
No,
figured last year is when
there
I
just
think.
aren't anymore.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, Mom died the year
Right.
before, and that was
Mm-hmm.
a low, but I mean, it was a challenging
Absolutely.
moment that we had an opportunity to, I don't know, I'd say shine. That's a stupid way to put it, but you know what I mean.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
Well, we we got through it doing the stuff that we know how to do
yeah,
because we've been practicing to do it. Yeah.
yep,
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It was awful, but it was also, given the time and the space and looking back, it was I don't know if pride's the right word, but yeah, I am a little, proud that we did some good work on there here, and we were there for the family, and
right.
yeah, it was, yeah, even the awful stuff's not that bad anymore.
Right. Well, and that's the thing that episode, and I've said it a number of times. And we've had, we talk about Dr. Sarah's episode, all of our
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland friends, and we've had so much
Right.
fun with a lot of these guests. But
Mm-hmm.
that episode and the episode afterwards, but mainly
Mm-hmm.
that first one we did.
Right.
I mean, I'm proud of that episode. I am. I'm
Right.
proud of the fact that that we chose to do it. For
Mm-hmm.
all the right reasons, and
Right.
had a chance to get that out there. And we talked about it before, but I've never had that type of outlet. I've written stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
I think I mentioned this before, that a lot of my articles I wrote from a business sense were personal things I put into a business spin, so I can look back on those, and that used to be my, I don't know, kind of my outlet,
Mm-hmm.
where this is now. But so it was a great outlet, but it had a great opportunity to just open that shit up,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and
Well, and I mean, and like all this shit, try to be an example, and look, yes, this really bad thing happened, and look how you can walk through it sober, and with compassion, and not make it all about you, and
right,
yeah, which is very different for us. I mean, there were certainly times in my past where I was, selfish in the middle of shit like that. I wasn't there for other people, and yeah, it was, ugh, yeah. Anyway,
No, I know. I agree. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And this year, kind of the same thing. I mean, the one high point to me, and even though this, I quitting my job was huge for me. It wasn't just a matter
hmm
of getting out of that, just realizing, and it baffles me that the 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 health part of it, the heartburn, and all those sort of things. I didn't realize I was
hmm
so fucking stressed out over it. So,
right?
and that was a good thing. Oh, did I tell you that they're out of business now?
No.
Yeah. Okay. So sideline. So short story here. I don't know. A week ago, 2 weeks ago, a
hmm
month ago, the days fucking blend. I get a message from James, who was our assistant collection manager. So, nice guy. And he and I worked very well together, and just a good dude. So he texted me and he's like, "Hey, do you mind if I use you for a reference?" And I said, "No." I said, "Absolutely." And I let it sit for a minute, and he didn't say anything else because he just said thank you. And I'm like, I said, so I like 10 minutes later, I'm like, well, I was going to ask you how things were going, but hang on one second.
Let me clear my throat.
Damn it. It's like right before we got on here, I started to get like kind of almost a sinusy thing. So sorry about that. But so I texted him back. I'm like, I was going to ask you how things are going, but that's kind of a good indication. And he goes, "Oh," he goes, "you don't know." And I'm like, "I don't know what." And they were texting. And he said, "Yeah." He goes, "The business closed. Craig, who was the owner, said that he couldn't afford to keep it open based on the main client had lowered their fees, which they did that like a year prior. And so he just shut the doors end of October." And I'm like, "Wow, are you fucking kidding me?" So yeah, after whatever it was, 25 years.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of curious because I didn't do a lot of digging into it. I mean, nothing was on like LinkedIn or anything like that, or nobody yip yapped about it. But you can look at like company registrations and things like that. And I was just kind of curious. I'm like thinking, God, did he just close the doors and not even try to sell it? And it just the LLC, the company is dissolved, done.
Wow.
I was just like, I was fucking blown away. But so anyhow, so quitting that and getting out of that situation. So that I would have been out of a job at the end of October anyhow, but that's doesn't matter, because doing that and making that choice was great. Now, I talked about the coaching thing, and I built this whole thing that hasn't flourished, and I could easily look at that. Part of it, it's like I look at part of it, I'm like, God damn, I wish that. I'm like, no, fuck it, because what I did was I did something that I had a goal, something I wanted to put together, and I did it, and even though it didn't flourish, maybe it will in the future, maybe it won't. A little bit of money, a little bit of time, but I was able to build this whole thing, and I was like, this is kind of cool, the only thing that, there's things maybe, and I won't even get into it, probably things I could have done a little bit differently, but it doesn't matter. So I don't consider it, even though it didn't flourish, I don't consider it a failure. It's a learning experience, and it's an opportunity. It was something for me to build and realize that, hey, I have the ability to do that. So I did, but the only other thing, I mean, now I'm obviously trying to get back into the full-time job market, and it's fucking hard out there, and it's I've been and again, not that I don't need to get into all this different shit, but let's just say it's been a challenge. But this has been going back to what we talk about, that somebody else's will, not mine. I keep doing the work, which I do it every day, and as long as I keep doing that, then one way or the other, shit's going to work out. And usually what happens is I get squeezed and fucking squeezed and fucking squeezed to the point where it's like, and all of a sudden shit happens, I'm in the sometimes slowly part of my process right now, and I don't like it. Okay. And I never do, but I still have faith, and it's
absolutely,
it is what it is, and it's going to work out. And but again, I don't look at any of this shit as being bad things. I don't look at this as a bad year. I've seen a lot of people post on, and not just one or two, Instagram, Facebook. I've seen it on Twitter or X posts, whatever you want to call them, even on LinkedIn, saying that 2023 has been such a tough year, but 2024 is going to be. And I'm like, was it really? I mean, what? I mean, some shit's going on in the world. I get all that, and some weird stuff and blah blah blah. But
shit's always going on in the world.
I know, and that's what I was thinking. I'm like, 2020, I get. 2021, I get. Those were fucked up years on for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, I don't know.
Right.
Those weren't all that bad either, really.
Right.
I mean, personally, I kind of liked it. There were fewer people out there I had to deal with, and more time at home, and I didn't mind it all that much at all.
Oh, I agree. Because like you worked through the entire time. I worked through the entire time. It didn't really interrupt except for seeing family and things like that, that sort of thing, it took away. So but I understand that more than I do. I don't understand what was the big thing. 2023. I don't know. It just was. I don't think it was that. It was a year,
It was.
So,
yeah. And hey, guess what? We got through it. We're still here.
Right. And still
sober.
And still on the other thing I wrote down, the path of recovery. Because I wrote that down too,
Yep.
But I don't know. It just as I was thinking about that, it just reminded me of these posts about that, and again, for the life of me, yes, ups and downs and whatever. But this summer, and you and I going to the Foo Fighters, I took those trips. I spent time with with my kids, and I spent time with my grandson, and I had a wonderful time. So even and I look at it this way too, that so I'm going through a let's call it a challenge right now, getting back into that, but fuck it, it was worth it.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I did. It was an opportunity to almost, kind of like, and I hate to use the term reset, but maybe it was, I didn't realize what like I said, the stress and whatever, I don't know, whatever it is, it's not, nothing, none of it's bad. It's not a bad thing.
It's not. Yeah. Nothing is ever that bad.
Right. Yeah. But, think about it. Think about 14 years ago. I mean, everything was fucking bad.
Yeah, pretty much. Right. Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, going through whatever these little hills and valleys, it's no big fucking deal at all.
Right. Yeah. So, okay. So the wrap up on that is, it was a good reading. I mean, first of all, but the wrap up on that is that you and I are kind of in the middle.
We are.
Right.
And that's where we like it. Yep. Never too high, never too low. Uh-huh.
Right. Exactly where we should be.
Yep, exactly.
So, we could talk about New Year's Eve here in a minute too. Do you want me to let me go through my little nitpick real quick, because I did it while we were.
Right.
I did it while we.
That nit.
Because I did it while we were talking. I noticed it. I noticed it last episode, and I'm sure I know for a fact I do it a lot. But when I'm talking, if I reiterate something, I say "and again." Then I'll talk and again. So I noticed it when I was listening to last week's episode, and it was one of those things that I focused in on, and now I've searched the second word. So the word "again" was said 73 times in last week's episode. Okay.
Wow.
Right. It's a fucking lot, right?
Yeah, it is.
And I heard, as I was going through, I think you said it one time after I said it, I think, which is the only reason I noticed it. But
okay.
I don't think you might. I think 71 of those are mine.
Well, how about, hey, let's give it the benefit of the doubt and say 69 of them were yours.
Oh, I like that even better. But so and this has, the fact that this is happening at the end of the year, going into the new year, I need to make a declaration that has nothing to do that it's a new year. I was listening to an episode last week and it fucking irritated me. So I'm going to tell a short story about years ago when this stuff started to come into my mind. Part of it involves alcohol, so it's relatable. Okay.
Okay.
Now, I went through a program, and literally this was 22 years ago. It was September of 2000, or no, God, 23 years ago. So September of 2000, because Dawn was pregnant with Derek at the time. And I I got involved in this program. It was a national organization for the Collectors Association, and I got the opportunity to become an instructor, And I think I've mentioned that before, you and I, but I don't know if I talked about it on here. But so it's basically what we did at that time. So much of this stuff is done online anymore. I don't even think they have instructors that travel anymore. I don't know. But at that time, that's all they had. So there was literally, it was a big deal. And I'm not a big deal, but I got involved in something that was a big deal. I was one of only like 22 people all across the country that was certified as an instructor. So it was kind of a big, and something huge professional accomplishment for me, and probably one of the greatest professional things I ever went through, the training and all that stuff, because it led into a lot of other things, kind of where my story comes in. So we fly to Minneapolis. I was there. I ended up kind of a quick sideline. So Dawn's pregnant with Derek. You're not allowed to have cell phones. She's literally like 2 weeks away from his due date because he was a little late, I think. And they actually,
I could see that.
yeah, they're like, I'm like, my wife's pregnant. I'm like, I need to know if my son happens to be born early, whatever the deal is.
Mm-hmm.
Can't have a cell phone on. That was against the policy. I was allowed to bring a pager. Again, this is 23 years ago. Yeah.
Right.
Fucking AT&T. I think we had to spend whatever, I don't know, it was like a year. You couldn't just get one temporarily.
Sure.
I had to pay for one.
Right.
Like $25 a month for a fucking year is ridiculous. But he wasn't born while I was gone, but that was just another thing that happened. So we get there on a Saturday and we have this reception dinner and stuff like that. And, all the instructors are going to go through the training and all that stuff, all the new instructors. So basically they're like, okay, after dinner, hang out for a little while, but make sure you get rest. I mean, we were starting training at like 7 the next morning, starting on a Sunday at the actual office of the American Collectors Association. They actually took us there on a Sunday on purpose because no one was there. Right. So they're like, get to bed early, get some rest. Well, of course, I sit down, at the bar in the hotel with a couple of guys. Have a drink.
Of course.
They fucking closed down the bar. I was just fucking wrecked. So there's my alcohol part. But we were there Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, half a day on Wednesday. And one of the things we did these 3 presentations. First one was 3 to 5 minutes. Next one was 5 to 10. And then the final exam, quote unquote, was a 15-minute presentation. And part of what they did was they videotaped you, but they also would listen to you, and they listened for what they called crutch words. The word
verbal crutches.
Yeah.
Right.
And they counted in my first presentation, which again, 3 to 5 minutes, I said the word some ungodly amount of times. And I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. They're like, here's the thing. And this is where I learned this. And this is why it irritated me with the again part. Is that they said when you're training somebody, and I understand this, they said if you have a tick, a mannerism, a word, something like that, if somebody picks up on it, they will focus only on that and they lose, the conversation is lost. And I'm like, I don't want to do that, because I'm trying to teach people. And the same thing, even though we fuck around a lot, we are trying to get out at least a little bit of a message. So I don't want to have one of these things. So I went back to my room that night, and the next one was at like that 10-minute presentation. I went, I did it over and over and over again until I could do it without saying the word and I would go through however long it was. I'd get 3 minutes into it, I'd say the word and I'm like, fuck me, and I'd start over. I wouldn't let myself like start from there. I'd start over. So the next day I go back and I do this presentation, not an in the entire thing. And the 2 main people that were, kind of grading us, the dude looks at me and he's like, you didn't say it at all. He goes, how in the world did you do that? So this goes back to us people sometimes being very determined and all those sort of things. And that was, I know it now. That was my perfectionist, alcoholic behavior that I needed to get it right. But I did. And I taught myself something that I could do that. So my whole point with that is now I'm on a fucking mission. If you hear me say the word, unless it's a general conversation where the person,
it's like Fonzie saying wrong. Right.
But unless it's in the general source of can't even speak. General course of conversation. But it's in the point where I'm using it as a, hey, I've said this before and again. So I don't want to do that. So I'm trying to be a better person for the listener.
Ooh.
And that really has nothing to do with it. It does, but it fucking pisses me off so much. It really irritated me because once I heard it, I'm like, I can't unhear it,
Yeah, I know. Right. I got them too, and I kind of don't care, but
well, and you and I, because I listen to all the episodes. I know you don't, but which is fine. You and I both have our things, but everyone does in this general conversation. But there's certain things that are a lot stronger than others, when it comes to these fucking things. and that one just came out really fun. It's just too much, you know.
Yeah.
It's just too much. So,
all right.
But here's the good news though. I'll let you guess, because I did look up the word "fuck," of course, because I had to in last week's episode. So, how many times I said the other word 73 times? How many times did we say the
69.
word? Stop. Sorry.
I said it a couple of times.
Okay, 69.
Right. How many times did we say fucking last episode?
Correct.
I don't know. Well, it's probably way up there because you sound all proud and shit. Let's go 137.
Oh, that's low. That's low.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. You're about, let me see. Let's do the math. You're about, go up about 30 some.
169?
179.
Ooh, shit.
I looked at that and I'm like, really? I actually erased it and I typed it in again. I'm like, that's got to be something wrong. Did it add the other word? No, 179.
Glitch in the matrix.
Right, which I think that might be our record. So, but
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, before it was.
We're definitely not beating it this time because we've been fuck.
But yeah, it was. I think the last one was in the 160s. But anyhow, real quick. So you and I have already talked about the other gentleman that approached us. So we'll talk about him when I'm there. But
okay.
Remember the individual that I had said that kind of approached us about being on the podcast, but then you guys can't swear and I'll get back to you type of thing. She never did. So yeah, right. And then she had messaged me about something, just one of the things we posted. I'm like, oh, we were talking about you. And she's like, oh, did you tell me to go fuck myself? I'm like, no. And
not yet.
Nope. So then we were going back and forth about something else. I forget what else she messaged me about. Oh, she wants us, again, to be on the podcast. So, okay. And I'm like, cool, just let me know. They only do one a month, which is, I'm like, okay. She's
slackers.
But she's got people booked. I mean, like right now, I think through like September. But I said, here's the deal. I said, as it gets closer, let us know. I promise you, we will not swear. And she's like, I might give you guys even just one each. I can edit it out. And I'm like, we're not going to make you edit it. We know how to be nice if we need to.
Right.
But
I right. I go on broadcast radio. I mean, at a Jesuit college.
Right. And we do go out in public and speak, to people and, and we don't swear. Right. But I told her too, because she wrote a book and I can't remember the title of it. But, I said, are you still promoting your book? And I said, do you think our listeners would benefit from it? Because I said, well, why don't you come on our podcast too? We'll help you promote the book. So she's going to get back to me. I told her, I said, just email me a couple of things. I'll forward it to Mike. I think she'd be good. She's cool, and I said, I think we've had three people or four people now, 3 for sure. Dr. Sarah, Travis, Gio that had books. I think those are the 3. But
right, I think there's one more, but anyway,
it seems like
right.
But I told her, I said we don't mind, having that, and I said give you a chance to promote it. So she's gonna get back to me. But I just thought it was kind of funny because she's like, I'll give you each one. I said no. I said we know how to act right if we need to.
That's right. Yeah. Don't please don't throw your pity fucks at us.
Yeah, a pity fuck. I like that. A pity fuck. But all right. So the reading we're all good on. We talked about that word, and then a bunch of fucks. We're just adding a couple more fucks in here to pad this fucking episode.
Right. That's right. Fucking A.
Right. So. I don't know. Do you want to just take a break now and then we can talk about New Year's Eve?
Yeah.
Let's get this fucking thing out of the way too. God damn
it. All right. Well, we'll be back with more fucking great fucking content right after this word from our fucking sponsor.
Hey everyone, it's your friends at SoberNotMature.
Hi there.
Yes, it's both of your friends this time. Hi Mike, how are you?
I'm well. How are you, Bill?
I am doing well, but we do have a purpose. We actually usually talk about our one website, but we actually have 2 websites now. So
2
websites in one. All right, so So everyone knows we still have the podcast website that is www.SoberNotMature.com. And we just launched the store website, so we also have that. Do you know what the website address is on that one, Mike?
Of course I don't.
It's pretty easy, Mike. It's www.SoberNotMatureShop.com. But from the podcast website, you can still hit the store link and get into the web store, or you can access it from our Instagram page through the highlights. We've been posting quite a bit about it, and we'll continue to do that. But do you know what's on the second website, Mike?
Well, there's a store. There are products that you can purchase for you and your loved ones.
Well, Mike, do we still have merchandise?
We have merchandise. Well, we got T-shirts and coffee mugs and all kinds of crap.
And one of the coolest parts, we also do have all the recovery books from Hazelden, which is kind of a big deal.
That is a big deal.
At least for us. So all the books that we read, God Grant Me 24 Hours, the Big Book, the 12 and 12, all of those books are available for sale on our website. And again, that store website is www.sober.
Trying to help, man.
I know you are. You're not helping, though. Okay, now I got to say www.SoberNotMatureShop.com. .com. Visit that today, or visit the podcast website, which is, again, the podcast website. So
www.SoberNotMature.com.
Did you just say sober but not mature?
Yeah, sure. Write that down.
Yeah, like fucking mush mouth or something. All right, everyone. You've suffered enough with this, and we'll get back to what we were talking about previously. So visit the websites, though. All right, everyone. Welcome fucking back.
Hi there.
Yeah, I think that added a couple more. I think we're going to be good. So, but yeah, so we got New Year's Eve to talk about. I got other shit to talk about too. But speaking of, New Year stuff and, old days and partying and acting a fool, we're still going to party and act a fool. We're just going to do it with a bunch of sober people.
Absolutely. We are.
Yeah, so Michael and Megan, which we've had both of them on, you guys all know them, Crazy Megan and our friend Michael. Is it when did they start doing that? I guess that's my first question. Every year they host a poker thing.
Right. Yeah. Well, the first poker game was on New Year's Eve. It was, I know, I was actually talking to my boss about this today. And I believe, I want to say it was 10 years ago.
Okay. And
yeah,
that would make sense because, well, first of all, I'm going out to Ohio tomorrow because it'll be the first one as far as you and I can remember. I don't think I've ever been there. And
I don't think so. No.
So it would have been, I think, the year, because I moved back to Wisconsin July of 2013. So if it was that year, then that would make perfect sense, because I was back.
Yeah.
I was back in September. I was back in November for their wedding, and I was back, I think, might have been back for Thanksgiving. I don't know. I was back to Ohio like 3 times within that 4 or 5 month period. So I know I didn't come back.
That does actually kind of, I think, line up because, I think it was that first New Year's Eve that they were married.
Right.
They were still in that apartment over an old bar,
right,
down in that little Italian neighborhood right on the coast there. Yeah. But I know that's where it was, and and we made the mistake of not limiting the buy-ins, and we played until 6 a.m.
Right. Yeah. I think we were talking about that with Michael, because I knew
I'm pretty sure that's the last time I drove home when the sun was coming up.
Right. And the first time since you had been sober since you did that, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I have no desire to, like we were talking about, I have no desire to, stay up all night. I think the last time that I was up late, like 4 a.m. or something like that, was coming back, and it would have been that first year, I think, because we went to my dad's cousin Paul. His son got married down in Columbus, so we were in Cleveland that weekend, and then went down to Columbus, and I left. Kathy was going back to mom's that night, and I'm like, I didn't want to drive back. It was Labor Day weekend. I didn't want to drive back and deal with the traffic on Monday. So I left Cleveland at like 8 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night, and got back to Madison. And I think it was like fucking 4 a.m. But I'm like, I went home. I think I had grabbed a sandwich or something to eat, and I fucking went to bed until like 1, but
Right.
But yeah, other than that, I don't think I've been up all night. But I don't think we're gonna stay up all night. But I'm really looking forward to it because I haven't done well. I mean, last year we went out to dinner that was nice, and Kathy and I hit up the casino, which was nice. It was fun, just something out of the ordinary. But I don't know. It just hasn't been convenient. I don't think for me to make it back because I was thinking, in 10 years, it just never lined up for me to come back. So
right. Well, yeah, shit. I don't even remember what I did last year.
Right.
Yeah, I know I didn't. I think they had a game, and I think I had to miss it for some reason. Yeah, I don't know, but it's been a couple of years since we've done, because the pandemic and stuff. It's definitely been a couple of years since I've played poker with them. Yeah, on New Year's Eve. So it's I'm looking forward to it too. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it'll be. I just thought it'd be a lot. I know it'll be a lot of fun. And I know I was just thinking back too that there was a number of years when we used to come back to Cleveland for Christmas. So we'd be in Cleveland at Christmas, and then I go back home. I mean, I knew I wouldn't just drive all the way back for New Year's Eve. So I'm sure just logistically it didn't work out. But I don't know. I'm excited to go. I'm excited to just hang out and actually, sit there and do something with a group of people on New Year's Eve. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I know it will be a lot of fun. I don't think it will be.
Right.
So. But yeah, so that's our New Year's Eve plans. But there's so you get your home group though. So we got to figure out timing with that.
Yeah, right. I don't. I was thinking about it today. Actually, I may go hang out and set up and stuff, and I might not stay for the whole meeting. Yeah, okay. I'm thinking because they were talking about starting the card game at 9. Right. So if I hang out and then the meeting gets started and stuff, and I just duck out, I should be out there by 9. So yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, and it's whatever works, because I know that you were talking about maybe all of us hitting the meeting. I mean, whatever. If you're only going to do that, then I don't know. We'll figure it out. But that sounds good. I was just you and I sitting there making out our plans here, which we do anyhow. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, we don't need to involve everyone. You know what? Fuck you, everyone. You don't need to know what we're doing.
You need to be involved. You need to know what we're doing. We need to be honest and open and accountable.
All right, so this is what we're doing. But yeah, so I'm heading out tomorrow. I don't know exactly what time. Probably late morning. So I'm assuming I'll by your place, and I don't know, 4 or 5, something like that. But I'll let you know. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be around.
Yeah. All right. So we're all good on all that, right?
I'm sure everybody is sick of fucking hearing about it.
But a New Year's Eve stuff, we got all that New Year's Eve resolutions. I wrote that down, but I know you never make New Year's resolutions. We've talked about that.
Oh, God, no.
I think I only wrote it down so we could make fun of them, but we don't really need to do that.
No.
But
no, hey, again, if it works for you, if you need that calendar to flip over to make yourself a better person, go for it. I'm trying to do it every fucking day.
Yeah, and that's our main point with that. I was joking about them making fun of people. It's just that we were taught doing this thing that if something needs to be changed, do it now, don't wait. And if it happens to be, like me getting rid of a word just because it's the beginning of the year has nothing to do with it. But yeah, it's time to make a change. Our opinion is make the fucking change, whether it's May or January 1st. So.
Yep.
But and this came up, I wrote this down, I don't know, a week or so ago, but it also came up on a podcast that I was listening to. The phrase square peg trying to fit into a round hole. Okay. That for anyone out there, that's a very, very, very popular saying around recovery meetings and things like that. A lot of people say it's just the concept of somebody feeling out of place, trying to shove a square peg into a round hole. So did you, Mike, ever feel like that? Ever, whether it was when you first got sober, prior to that? Most people, it's when they were still drinking. But did you ever feel that way?
Well, I actually thought about this early in recovery. Yeah. I was not a square peg in a round hole. I was a round peg in a square hole. I fit in, but I didn't fill it out.
Okay.
Yeah, there was the pieces missing. I was that round peg in a square hole. I was, if a hole can be square. But yes, yes, I could fit in. I could make myself get in there, but I certainly didn't fill it out, and I certainly didn't fit.
Right.
But I would be in there.
I don't,
So that's my experience with it. Yeah, I didn't fill it out. I didn't complete ever.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you know that at the time, or was that like?
Oh God,
Okay.
no. That was after hearing square peg in a round hole all those times, I was like, nah, it doesn't quite apply to me. Again, not looking for the differences, just taking the information that they were giving me and applying it to myself. And I went, no, that's not right for me. What it was for me was what I said.
Right. Which, and now that you say that, I think I've heard you say that before, because it's one of those things that make it. I completely understand that, but that's why I'm just curious if you knew it at the time. But that makes more sense too. It's that that hindsight thing that we all get once we once we don't have a substance clouding our vision, right?
Exactly. All foggy and shit.
Well, and it's just that when I hear people, and I've heard people talk about that I didn't fit in, and that's the way they explain it. And I don't know that I ever really felt that way. The only time that I didn't fit in and I really felt it is when we moved from, well, both times we moved. It was tough moving from Cleveland to Pittsburgh. I went into fifth grade, and kids are fucking assholes. And I was a fucking outsider, and I was from Cleveland. This was Pittsburgh, all this different shit. Yeah, and my mom, and who turned out to be our mom, but at that time, my mom bought me a brand new winter coat, Cleveland Browns. No fucking shit. Yeah. Bought me a fucking Cleveland Browns coat. I mean, all the best intentions, but I'm like, I can't fucking wear this, I'm gonna get killed. And she ended up, and I did. I mean, while I was there, we were there in the late 70s. That's when Terry Bradshaw was there, and all the great. I mean, again, the Steelers of the late 70s. They were
Steel Curtain, man.
They were the shit. And I got to go to one game against a Cowboy. It was fucking awesome. It was great. It was a lot of fun, but felt really out of place. And then when we moved to Wisconsin, I went into 8th grade, and same thing. That's the last year of middle school and going into high school. It took me 2 years to kind of get my feet under me with friends, but it was just because kids were fucking assholes. It had nothing to do with me. I mean,
Oh yeah,
it literally didn't. I mean, I didn't feel out of place. I was put out of place, But usually the concept is I felt this way or I felt out of place, so I drank, which I didn't start drinking until I got in with a group of friends that actually, it wasn't really by choice, but they played soccer, ran track, this and that. This group of friends of mine and me, we really didn't drink until like end of junior year into senior year. But so it was almost the opposite. I mean, I wasn't seeking out anything, but anyhow, it just, I've always found that to be kind of an odd statement, because maybe just because I didn't have to deal with it, or I can't relate to it,
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, you talk about moving around. I mean, second grade, I went from Detroit to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and then back down to the Detroit area. So I went to 3 different schools in second grade. Oh yeah. I mean, well, Mom was one of us, and so geographics were a big deal for her. And so I was an old pro at it. We moved a lot, and we moved from Michigan to California. I started 8th grade. Yeah, and I had been in Michigan. I had been there for like 4 years, the longest I'd been anywhere at that point in my life, in a school system and all that stuff. And so I did like 4th and 5th grade, and then the population was growing, so they moved 6th grade over to the junior high. So I did 2 years of junior high, and it was junior high. It was going to different classes every hour. It was like mini high school. And then I moved to California, and I went to. They moved us out in the middle of fucking nowhere, and yeah, and and it was a kindergarten through 8th grade school. So I basically went back to elementary school for 8th grade. That was fun. And then we moved again, a little bit more populated area in Sacramento, and I started high school. I knew no one. I walked into a big high school, like 3,000 students,
Jesus.
and I didn't know anybody. I take that back. I knew one guy, sort of, because there was a kid that was a year younger than me, lived 2 doors down from me, and he had a friend that was starting high school that had been there his whole fucking life, one of those guys. And so I'd like met him a couple of times, but walking into this high school, he didn't acknowledge me. I was not. Yeah. I had met him a couple of times, and that was it. So yeah, I walked into high school and didn't know anybody. But I, seriously, within a couple of weeks, I had, I was already making inroads because I was an old pro at it. I'd been moving around my whole fucking life. So yeah, I found my people,
Right.
Yeah. We had a little thing called Smoker's Corner, because you could smoke in school back then. Yeah, so you go hang out there. I'll find those motherfuckers. Hey, man. So where's the beer party this weekend?
So it's funny because that was my next question. So people talk about seeking out people who drank or used like they did. Did you do that?
Right.
Did you and I know you're trying to find friends and stuff like that, and again, easily finding something like the smoking area. That makes sense. That's the one thing that, and smoking's bad for us and all those sort of things, and everyone gets it, and everyone understands it. But the one thing that you could always do is you can go hang out, smoke a cigarette. Even these days, go where anyone's vaping, and you can make instant friends. It's a weird culture. It really fucking is. It doesn't matter who it is. You're with people who smoke or vape or whatever it is.
Right.
But
well, it's the junior version of walking into a bar. Yeah, same thing. Working them substances, man. Find the people that like the same shit you do.
Right.
Right. And no, I didn't really look for people to party like me, because I partied like me, motherfucker.
Right.
If you want to share your stuff with me, that's cool. I'm sure it's not sharing my stuff with you.
Right. But because I was thinking about that too when I wrote it down. It's just that briefly, thinking about it, I don't think I ever had a conscious thought where I said, I'm only going to hang out with people who drink. I'm only going to hang out with people who like to stay out and drink, can hang with me, type of thing. But I ended up, just everyone that I was around was like that, and when I went to events, it was, I would say, almost unheard of to end up at any event, child's birthday party to a Christmas party to anything, where you couldn't get something to drink,
Oh yeah.
And it was a thing. And I think it's still a thing, to these days, where a lot of these get-togethers, and that's why so many people have trouble, I think, or struggle a little bit when they get sober with that sort of thing. But it just, I was curious if you ever walked into a place, and I guess you had great examples there of thinking, I need to find people who drink or use like me, because those are the people I want to hang with, and I don't know, like I said, I never had those blinders on.
It was never conscious. It was you just kind of find each other.
Right.
I mean, it shakes out that way. I mean, honestly, yeah, I said Smoker's Corner, but I also, my freshman year, I'd always sang in choirs my whole life, from like second grade on. I took choir in high school, and that was, also the first place. And all the music kids hung out in the music room at lunchtime and stuff. So yeah, that was a big part of it too.
Right.
I found musicians and stuff, and yeah, and not just rock and roll, but they were there too. But yeah, the whole music department, that's what kept me in high school.
Yeah. Well, I remember you saying that when we were talking to, might have been we were talking to Nico, I think, because he said wrestling, and I had played, I ran track and played soccer, but the same deal is when we moved to Wisconsin, I had never played soccer before, but kind of the same thing
Mm-hmm.
with you, where our next door neighbors, it was two boys that lived next to us. One was my age, but when same thing, they had moved from like Minnesota down to Wisconsin mid-year, so that the school system wouldn't let him in. So he got held back just because they came in late, So he
Mm.
was my age, but a year behind me, you know.
Okay.
So we ended up going to the same school. I was in eighth and he was in seventh. So I saw him, but he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't in any of my classes. But what we did
Right.
was he played soccer and I got involved in like this community league soccer. So I started meeting people that way, and I just did it. God
Yeah.
damn it, that fucking word. But that's how I started meeting people, was through soccer. And then a lot of those people,
Mm-hmm.
so it was, all these communities around went to the same high school, so that's where I met a
Yeah.
lot of these guys and became close friends. And a guy I room with in
Mm-hmm.
college, he didn't play soccer, but he ran track. And, so it's just a whole group of people that I ended up meeting.
Sure.
But same deal, you, like you said, with the music, you just end up, finding your crowd based on common interest. But I don't
Absolutely.
know. I've heard so many leads, and I know you have too, that those two things, the square peg thing, and then, well, I moved someplace and I found I was started looking for my people, and I'm like, I never did that, in
No, you just find it. It just
right,
happens. Yeah, we're not that good.
right,
We don't look for them. It just happens. You just start doing things that, like, again, the common interest, sports or music or whatever. And if you're a fucking math nerd, you find other math nerds.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is. You're right. It's organically, if we want to go with one of those words, right?
that's right. Absolutely.
All right. So let me see. Oh, so here's another one. And we were talking about pride earlier. God, all these things are this. If I didn't bring this up, all these things would just be falling into place, and I could just act like this was magic. But I'm
Right.
I'm kind of pointing it out, like, oh, look what I wrote down. Something we were talking about before. Um, do you remember the first time after you got sober that you were actually
Uh-huh.
proud of yourself, and what had you accomplished, and what you had accomplished up to that point? So figure this time, because I get it before when you said you were dry, not really sober before this time. So when
Mm-hmm.
we got sober this time, April of
Mm-hmm.
2010, do you remember the first time that you actually felt proud of yourself and what you had accomplished to that point?
Hmm. Hmm. I mean, it was kind of the slowly thing, just putting the days together, man. Yeah, clearly, I got past, the 90 days, and that was a big one for me, because every time I had, here's my air quotes, tried this thing in the past, yeah, that 90-day mark was always a big one. I could never really get past it very well. And I did once, but it was fucking skin of my teeth, white knuckling it. Yeah, again, just put the days together, man. No, not really. There's no moment. There was no, hell, I'm still working on it, man.
And same deal though with that question, and I'm sure it came up, but me listening to some podcasts, because
Hmm.
these thoughts, kids are not. I can't. I'm not that fucking original. There are
Right.
times when I have one of these things pop off the top of my head for no fucking reason. I'm like, wow, where did that come from? But I know this wasn't one of them. But
Hmm.
I same deal though. I try not to overthink these things when I first write them down, because I just don't want to have these preconceived or preset thoughts in my head. But
Hmm.
I the only thing that I can think of right now, as I'm thinking back, is starting to see, like the when Derek came out, and
Hmm.
Dawn was a big part of that part of that. I think making me feel that way, because of her reactions to me, and what she was doing,
Hmm.
with our son and all that stuff. And same thing, watching Kathy and watching mom, and having just a family member. I don't know who it was or when they said it, but say, hey, you're looking better, you're sounding better, whatever the thing is. And then you look in,
Hmm.
where somebody says something, you're like, huh, yeah. Then you look back, you're like, God damn, I think I mentioned it in one other episode, doing the walk or whatever it was. And when did I start doing these prayers? When did I start doing this? How did I get to this point? Like you said, it literally is. It's just putting together these days. But, there's just moments, even now, it could have been a handful of years ago, either, one of my kids said something, or I'm able to do something for my kids, or mom says something, and you're like, God damn, if I wasn't, where would I be? Or if I didn't, what would have happened?
Absolutely.
And, just having an, no better way to put it, kind of having an awe moment. You're like, God damn, everything's fucking worth it, with that one thing.
Right. Well, you're talking about it that way, and God, it's probably getting close to 2 years ago now. Lydia, my granddaughter, wrote me a letter, a couple of pages, man, just telling me that she was proud of me, and she was glad that I was her grandfather, and hell, I don't remember all the particulars of it, but it was beautiful. And I was just, again, so this is so I'm like maybe 11 years sober, something like that. And just the cumulative thing of me always being there in her life. She has, I've talked about it before. She has no concept of the fucking monster that I am.
Right.
She doesn't. She turned 2 a couple of weeks after I got sober, so she does not remember. I mean, there's pictures of me at her first birthday, and I was fucking hammered. And I look back on that and go, but she does not know. All she knows is me sober,
right?
And the accumulation of that was this letter she wrote me a couple of years ago. It was amazing. I still have it. It's in plastic. It's in the drawer. I know exactly where it's at. Yeah, that one was huge. It was like, fuck, I guess I'm a halfway decent human being thanks to this program. There's this person that I care about deeply, and she cares about me, and the fruits of these labors in this program showing me how to be a fucking good person works. And yeah, that's pretty goddamn cool.
Right. Yeah, and I don't remember what it was. Kimmy sent me a text probably, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, 5 years ago, whenever it was. And
right.
Fucking random, just sent me a text, and
right.
I don't say this enough, but along the lines of I'm so glad you're in my life and this and that, blah. And I was just like, all you can do is, thank you and all, and I appreciate it and all that sort of thing. But you just kind of it almost knocks your wind out of you, because you're like, huh, okay. All these things that piss me off on a daily basis, and here's my I can't make big enough air quotes, the struggles that I have, and we all have them, and they're real and they're important and justifiable and fucking blah, but
right.
When you look back at stuff like that, or being available, like you said, my son, calling me at 1 a.m, not because because he needed a ride, and I told him he could call me, and being there for my sister, being there for our mom, anything like that. Just you realize that how whatever we did, whatever we had to go through, all this fucking work, which isn't work. Because we said this before, and I make a joke out of it, but it is. All we have to do is we have to read a fucking book, follow 12 little suggestions, and be a decent fucking human being.
Yep.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay, I worked really hard, man.
But the flip side is it's not our fucking nature. Right. It's not anything we want to do. It is work.
Right, I know.
It's working them fucking muscles, man, building them up, making them strong so that we can be there for other people. Yeah, it's yeah. Okay, so Chris my girlfriend has been sick. She actually got sick like 2 days before we left for Mexico. She got first few days we were down there, she was sick. But I kept telling her, hey man, I'm not driving a truck. I'm not dodging morons. I step outside and it's 85 degrees. This is all good. And she started getting better and she beat that bug, and then she got back and she's okay for a couple days, and then she caught another one.
Damn it.
Yeah. Anyway, she's getting better again. But was it Wednesday? Yeah, Wednesday. She texted me, are you going to be done soon? And I had actually just parked the truck. I was all happy because I had an early day. Couldn't happen today. But it was an early day, right? I was going to go get some food, go home, relax, take a shower. And so I called her right away. I said, hey, I just parked. What's up? And she was in a bad way, and ended up taking her to the hospital, ended up sitting in the emergency room for like 7 hours.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, dude, I didn't get home until about 1 a.m. It was fine. But yeah, and not being a dick. I mean, this is not what I wanted to do. But I did it, took her there, sat with her. Turned out she's got a virus, and, they gave her some fluids and sent us back home. But I could be there for someone else, again, not what I wanted to do. I fucking hate hospitals. I hate, I'm sitting there looking at the people in the emergency room going, you motherfuckers, I hate all of you. And the old me would have turned it around and resented her and let her know that I was not happy about being there. And, no, none of that shit happened. I mean, it was all in me, but it didn't come out because I know how to handle myself today, how to behave, be a good boy. It was fine. I got home and got about 3.5 hours sleep and went to work. And yeah, and that was 2 days ago, and it's, in the past. But again, I got to be there for somebody else, help someone get through something that was not pleasant for them. And that's all that mattered. Didn't matter that I was uncomfortable and I was hungry and I was tired, and who fucking cares? I was there. I got to hold her hand. Well, I didn't hold her hand because she was deceased. But
so you guys were making,
and she listens to this, right?
Making out in the
oh yeah, no, sitting there with the mask on,
the other side of the room, saying, "Hey, baby, how you doing over there?"
Right, exactly. But yeah, again, I got to be there for somebody else, so it was a horrible, miserable fucking thing for me, and it was good,
right?
Because I got to do something for someone else. Yeah.
Well, and we talk about that all the time. We joke about that literally joke about the fact that it's not all about us and all that sort of thing, but it isn't, and that's the difference. And we don't. The thing of it is that the reason we have, like we were talking about, like you with Lydia and the text from Kimmy or my son or anything like that, the reason we have these, there's no better way for me to put it. Everyone will understand if I say an awe moment, but I don't know how else to put it. We have those moments because we don't realize how much we affect people positively, because all we're doing is doing our thing. We're doing everything that we were taught, but we don't always realize, at least I don't, I can speak for myself. I don't.
Oh, definitely.
I don't realize the positive shit that I put out, and realizing that, like you said, whether it's the hospital or being there for somebody or, I don't know I mean, Kimmy and Brian always asking me, they ask me first if I could babysit, and she comes to me with some things, and whatever it is. I mean, it's just being there, being available, and realizing that you're there, and that sometimes that's all that matters, just that you're there, you're on the other end of the phone, and they know it.
Yeah. Right. 9 times out of 10, that's enough.
Right.
But 14, 15 years ago, that wasn't the case at all. I'm not answering that fucking phone. I'm fucking half in the bag and I want to get all the way in. I'm not answering that fucking phone.
Halfway in the bag and I want to get all the way in.
Yeah.
I like that.
Right. You're going to slow my fucking roll, man. Yeah. Again, we kind of didn't care that we were negatively impacting people. We were hurting people,
right.
We didn't give a shit. So how could we notice it? And now that we're again doing the next right thing, being a good boy, blah 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 blah. Yeah, we don't notice that either. That it actually does make a difference, and we're actually helping people along their way, man.
Right.
Which is, yeah, fuck.
I know.
Who knew?
I know. And then I mean that's all about all those things or all those those proud moments. Those are the things that it's the little things. And I've been telling myself this because I get these little irritations. See, I get, like I said, searching for a job and whatever. I mean, it's a big deal. Obviously, people got to work, people got to pay bills or whatever. But then there'll be just these little things throughout the day, and I keep reminding myself. Sometimes talking to myself, I'm like, it's the little fucking things. You got to watch the little fucking things, And I know that because we were taught that. It's not the deaths, it's not the tragedies. It's usually not always. It's not a rule, but it's usually not the big things because those things are so fucking blatant that you realize you got to take care of yourself. And I'm talking about sober people, watching out for the that first drink and stuff. People don't necessarily we people don't necessarily notice it. We got these little things just picking at us every day. Those are the things that we got to take a deep fucking breath and realize that you got to keep our shit straight.
Yep, absolutely.
Because all that shit just piles up, and all of a sudden we just get this case of fine, fuck it, whatever.
Yep, case of the fuckets.
Case of the fuckets. But
I'll take a case and a half.
So it was funny because my eyes just drifted down to this thing from the 24-hour book that I wrote down, and it was when they were talking about slips. But I'm just going to read this because it came right out of the book. It said, "An idle thought connected with drinking pops into our mind. This is the crucial moment. Will I harbor that thought even for 1 minute, or will I banish it from my mind at once? If I let it stay, it may develop into a daydream. I may begin to see a cool glass of beer or a Manhattan cocktail in my mind's eye. If I allow the daydream to stay in my mind, it may lead to a decision, however unconscious, to take a drink." Okay? So I thought that was kind of, we're talking about all these little things and whatever, and then I looked at it, I'm like, wait a second. No idea how long I've had this on here, but that's kind of what, and there was a post on social media, which we've heard a million times. It's
about a month. Slip season was about a month ago.
Right. But there was a thing on social media where somebody put that, a relapse happens, long before you physically take a drink, which we know, we've heard that.
Right.
But that's kind of a little bit about what this is talking about, that we talked about the fact that drinking or the thought of drinking and all that shit comes into our heads a lot of times. And especially on a weekend like this, if somebody's newly sober, it could easily come into their mind. But the point here is, do you let it dwell? Because sooner or later, it's going to sound like a good fucking idea, especially, especially if shit's going bad, then you're looking for a big old case of fuckets. So yeah,
case and a half.
Case and a half. So yeah, we can't do that. I think the 24-hour book is telling us not to do that, right?
Well, right. I know exactly the reading you're talking about because I've read it a few times. 14 or so.
Right.
But thankfully I have this. Here's some more sober jargon. I have this tool in my toolbox that, and it is a default for me now. We've talked about it a million times on here. Yes, of course we think about drinking. Yes, of course think about using drugs. It happens all the time. Not constantly, not every day. I'm not obsessed with it anymore, but it happens. And but the tool that I have now, and it pretty much, when I get those thoughts, I instantly play the tape through. Keep it going. Okay, asshole, take that drink. Then what? Well, I take that drink, and then I'm going to get thirsty, and then I'm going to need some more, and then I'm going to smoke a joint, and then I'm going to get some heroin, and then I'm going to smoke some crack, and no, but I'm going to fucking throw it all away. I'm very, very quick. That muscle is really strong. I am very quick when that thought pops in. what's the next step? What happens next is my next thought almost instantly now. And, fuck it. It's never good because it's never good. So, right. I mean, it's easy. Yes. The thought. Okay. Yes. That Manhattan cocktail, that cool frosty beer. Right. Yeah, it's going to lead me to, being a raging asshole, hurting everybody that I love. And suddenly that cool cocktail doesn't sound so fucking great anymore.
Right.
Like real fast. So, yeah, again, but it was a thing that I had to practice because, again, the thoughts always happen. And it's just my default now. I have that thought about the drink or the drug or whatever the substance is. and then instantly have the next thought, the consequences of that cool frosty beer. The consequences are never good.
Right.
So that thought goes away. It doesn't, that sunshiny, frothy loveliness of that cool drink lasts about half a second. Yes, I could continue to think about the lovely sunshine that it's going to come with it. And there is. I know that because it happened to me over and over again. That instant ease and comfort from taking that drink. But then I know exactly what happens after it. I don't focus on the ease and comfort and the good stuff. I instantly focus on the bad stuff that will inevitably come from me trying to feel good for fucking 20 minutes.
And just to be clear, so when like what you're talking about happens almost instantaneously, it's not as though the thought comes in, you have to sit down and go through this process. Even for the 2 minutes that you've just talked about it, you don't think about it for 2 minutes. It's just there and gone, right?
Oh God, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, because again, I have trained myself to that wonderful thought instantly turns to the horrible that always comes with it.
Right.
And then that's gone because I don't want to fucking dwell on the horrible. The fuck fun's that? Because I'm still selfish and self-centered. And I don't want to sit there and dwell on horrible things.
Right.
So then I move on and then I pick up the phone and go do something for somebody or, turn on the TV.
Well, and I just wanted to make that point because I knew the answer because I was thinking the same thing that as you were talking about that in real time that we don't miss. Usually we don't even miss a step, when that happens, you see it. So for instance, I'll see it on TV every once in a while. They'll talk about, or I'll hear it on a podcast that they'll be talking, telling their stories and stuff like that. And the typical thing that you'll hear is when first time somebody took a drink and they describe again the warm feeling and this and the relaxation and all that stuff. I remember fucking all of that, and that's what, once you get that first time, that's what we're chasing the entire time, and you never catch it again, because it's that first feeling. But I don't, it's not even a thought. I usually never sit down and think, I just had a thought about drinking. Now I got to play the tape through. So it does. It's just in real time. It just happens and we go on. However, and I know for a fact, I'd mentioned this before, there are times when things are going, my perceived thought of shitty in my life, or things are piling up, or whatever the case is, and things are rough, whatever the case is. Right. I have actually asked myself, if I'm feeling not even overwhelmed, let's go halfway and go whelmed. If I'm feeling whelmed,
right.
I will ask myself, I'm like, do you want to drink right now? And self, do you want to drink?
Sure.
And I'll say that out loud, and it sounds fucking stupid, but my answer better fucking be no, and it better be immediate, because if it's not, then I got to make a phone call or do something,
Right.
I still need to. I just wanted to make that clear. I still need to check myself every once in a while. And it's been, I don't think it's been in the last week or so, but probably in the last handful of months, I probably had to ask myself that. I don't know when or what happened, but I think that's
right.
I don't even think I know for a fucking fact it's healthy to be like, hey, you okay?
Right. Well, yeah. And of course we're going to, right. Yeah, whatever the situation is, it's our perception is, oh, this is fucking awful. Yeah. Oh, there are plenty of times where I will seriously go, So, would a drink help this situation?
Right?
Because it used to be the solution to all this shit. You know, for a very long time, that was the solution to these horrible fucking feelings and problems and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so of course I asked myself that question. Would a drink help this? Would this make this better? And the answer is always no, because it wouldn't.
Right.
Again, experience. Nope, goddamn, it didn't fucking work then. It's probably not going to work now.
Right. Yeah, and that's, I mean, I'll throw my yet in when I say this, because I have not, and for everyone out there, I know I've said it before, I have not relapsed yet. This is my first run at this thing. I've never tried to get sober before, but I haven't relapsed yet, and I'm very, very conscious of that yet part. I want to talk about proud. I'm proud of it because this goes back to the odds and the statistics and all the things we said. Fuck you, people. You know, you're 41. You've never tried this before. You can't stay sober. Oh, fuck, I can't. You know, I'll be a dry drunk before I drink again. No, that's not true. I don't want that.
No,
I don't want that.
God, no. I'll fucking drink before I'm a dry drunk.
But the whole point is that I don't know what it's like to relapse personally. But I'll tell you one thing, I've seen it. I've seen the despair. I've heard the stories. I've watched people. I know for a fucking fact what happens. I've watched people die, you know, not physically watch people die, but I know people have gone out and died and tried to use again, tried to drink again, or continued. So I don't have my own tape to play through as far as a relapse. I got a tape to play through about how I used to be. And then I got a home movie of all these motherfuckers out there that are dead or that went through miserable shit, you know? And I believe every single one of them because I've seen it or I believe their stories. Our sponsor Joe used to always say that we talk about whatever. He's like, I believe you. I believe that. It was one of the funniest things because, you know, I'd be all fired up about something, about telling him something. He's like, no, I believe you. I believe it. I'm like, yeah, I know you do. Yeah, because you've been there. You've been there too. That's it. That was always his way of saying I've been there.
Exactly. And you know, you talk about when you were saying, you know, this is your first time and all that stuff. You know, technically, yes, I thought I was somewhere deep down in me. I knew I needed to get sober, and I definitely had periods of dryness. But
non-moist times.
Exactly. Arid. But this is the first time that I actually truly worked the program.
Right.
So, you know, this is my first time being sober as well. You know, again, I had periods of dry before, but I was never sober before. That's why I always got drunk again.
Right.
Because I didn't have that defense against the first drink that I have now because I've put the work in. That's the important difference. Yes, I went to meetings and yes, I read things and blah, 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 but I never truly did the work to try to make myself a better person. I just wanted to be the same fucking piece of shit that I was and not have my problems. And hey, guess what? That didn't work.
Right.
I was still the same piece of shit and I still had all the same problems.
Well, and you made that point last week when we were talking, whatever the question was, and I said either pick, you know, this time or the first time that you got sober. And, you know, I remember you answering the question, but then when I listened back on it, you're like, well, you know, I wasn't sober the last time I was dry. And, you know, you and I have known each other a long fucking time, you know, and and I get that. I never really, not that I really never looked at it, but I don't know that you and I have actually talked about that distinction. I understand exactly what you mean because there's we've talked about it endlessly on here in a good way. There's a huge fucking difference between being sober and just not having stinky breath, you know, or not having alcohol breath or I was going to say drug breath. Having drug blood.
Right. Yeah. Meth mouth.
Meth mouth. But there is a huge difference. So I agree with that. And when you had said that, I'm like, God, it's I'm glad that you brought that up, and I'm glad you brought it up this time because there is we've known people, seen people act the fool, you know, because we know they're fucking dry, they're not doing anything, you know, and there's a huge difference. If I just wasn't, we talked about it endlessly. Neither one of us understands how any of this shit works. We don't understand why the steps work, why the book works, why,
Nope.
making our bed every day and reading some fucking things and every day works. No fucking clue. And anyone, if you think we're joking, we're not. It doesn't make any fucking sense. None of it does.
No, not a bit.
Because there's nothing magical. Nobody once I was detoxed and once you were detoxed, what does they say? Within like 2 to 3 weeks, all the mess, all the chemicals and shit are out. You are you're as alcohol free as you're going to be at that point.
Right.
The rest is what we do now, getting sober and trying to get healthy mentally and physically and all that sort of stuff. But huge difference. We talked about that very early on in sobriety that, sobriety is a lifestyle. Whereas, you can just not drink and that's fine. If it works for you, you're cool. But for us, we needed to be, we needed to change fucking everything.
You need to make fundamental changes.
Right.
Oh yeah. I as an alcoholic, the way I fucking am, man, if I just took the alcohol away, I didn't. The one time I lasted 11 months. I was fucking miserable and I went and I got a drink. I had to.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine not changing the way I think. Well, and we've talked about this endlessly too, and it changed the way I act so that I would think differently. But if I didn't make those changes, I'd have fucking blown my brains out, years ago, because I'd have been so goddamn miserable. Being that, again, like I said, this again, see, I say it too. So some of those were mine. Yeah, if I wouldn't have fundamentally changed the kind of person that I am, being without alcohol, I would have been I'd be miserable.
Right.
I couldn't handle that. There's no way in hell I could not handle life without booze for decades. Why would me just putting the booze away and not changing anything else work? It wouldn't.
Right.
It couldn't. Absolutely could not. I had to change the way I think, and I had to change the way I think by acting differently. And slowly I started to think differently, and I'm still working on that too.
Yeah, and it is that literally that daily reprieve, and it's every. I couldn't imagine. We've talked about it plenty enough. Not doing the things. I need that time in the morning. I need my space. I need my readings. I need to get my shit straight. And I need to. Everything that we do, we need to do, and we both realize that. But the key there is that every day and keeping that same pattern and that same routine every fucking day, no matter what. No matter what.
Every day, man. Yeah. I wake up on the edge of the cliff.
Yeah, still one of the greatest things. I love it.
Absolutely, man. Every fucking day.
Right.
Oh, there's that edge. God damn it! I got to start backing away.
I know. So,
I was way fucking far away from it when I went to sleep last night. What the fuck happened?
Yeah. So that's what you say. I got to do this shit again, right? Damn it.
Every
fucking day.
Every day.
Well, you know what? I think on that note, that's kind of a positive. We're at the edge of the cliff, and we've at this point of the day, I think we're far enough away from the cliff, but good.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's over there. I can still see it, but it's way the fuck over there right now.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I know you had a long day, and it's getting late on our end, but you know what? Everyone, just. Well, I'll let you say. You can close us out, then we'll say our goodbyes and our New Year's Eve wishes. How's that? Go ahead.
All right, that works. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for listening to another episode of Sober Not Mature. As always, be kind to each other, be good to each other, do something nice for somebody else this week, and don't tell anybody about it. And as now it is that time. Is it that time? I think it's that time. It's that time. It's fucking late. It's that time. It is time for you to fuck off. Then keep fucking off. Keep fucking off till you get to a gate with a sign on it saying you cannot fuck off past here. Climb over that gate. Dream the impossible dream. And keep fucking off forever.
You put some Boist in there again.
I did. I took that last couple of drops of gasoline in the tank and used them up.
Yep. Ran to that fucking finish line with that. So, but But seriously, everyone have a if you're listening, doesn't matter when you're listening to this. If you're listening to it on Saturday or Sunday or even next week after we're into the 24 period, I don't know, just be good to yourself. Take some of the whatever this fucking nonsense it is that comes out of our mouths. Hopefully, a couple of these morsels helped a little bit. But the main thing is that just keep doing the same shit every day. It's nothing out there is worth a drink today, right?
Nope, not a thing. And it's not going to fix a goddamn problem. Trust me.
Yeah, we can assure you of that. If we haven't done the research, we've been part of the research team. We've seen it. It doesn't work. Nobody's made it work yet. Never.
There's no cheese at the end of that maze.
Right. All right, brother. Well, I'll see your fucking bald and grumpy ass tomorrow. So
yes, you will.
I love you, and until then, right?
I love you too. Until then, Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah, Happy New Year, you motherfuckers. Bye.
Bye. And now it is time for you to fuck off. Then keep fucking off. Keep fucking off until you get to a gate with a sign on it saying you cannot fuck off past here. Climb over that gate, dream the impossible dream, and keep fucking off forever.